Hello, fellow iPad artists. This is Nolan Harris, and I'm here to give you a caricature lesson for beginners in ArtStudio for the iPad. First thing we do is I'm going to start up the app here, and I'm going to show you some of the new additions to this wonderful app while we're drawing Megan Kennedy from Ohio here. So we're going to go back down to the iPad, and I'm going to show you some of the newest features. As you can see, we have a new layer panel where you can actually add almost as many layers as you want, which is extremely helpful when you're working on a more complicated project involving multiple layers. So right now I'm showing you how we can add layers and how easy they are to move around just by holding down on it and moving it around on the layer panel. Each layer does come with its own set of different layer properties, such as normal, multiply, difference, screen, all those. Same things that came with the original app, but now they're a little bit easier to get to. And then you just make the layer window go away by hitting the layer button once again. And now I'm going to show you the tool window, which is one of my favorite newest additions to the updated app. The tool window is a scrolling window where all you have to do is hold on to the tool to see its properties. As you can see here, these are my pen properties that I utilize when I'm drawing live caricatures. It gives you a nice little dagger line and a nice hard stroke that just looks really sharp and really dynamic. And as you can see, you scroll the tool panel just like that if you want to see the other tools that you've come to know and love with the original version of ArtStudio. It's that easy. The big difference is now with the tool panel is that all of the different options are listed on the bottom here. So this is an example of how the gradient options look with all the different gradients. And then we still have the tool bucket, smudge, eraser, and all the different brushes as well. Another change is, I know you're used to the top before with the adjusting the opacity and size of the brush. That panel is now on the bottom along with the back and forward buttons in case you make a mistake. And here is the color swatch window, which is an amazing new addition to the app. It scrolls just like the tool window, and it is much easier to make your own pre-made swatches. All you have to do is find the color you want. You go to the new window, hold down, and drag that color onto your swatch panel. And then that will be reflected on the scrolling panel on your right every time you use ArtStudio. Makes it really easy to use colors that you've come to know and love when you're working on paintings or drawings. Another cool addition is you can make the tool window completely go away just by hitting that little top right button with the rectangle. It makes it a little easier for you to see the whole canvas when you're drawing. And now we're going to get started on Megan here. I'm going to go to my second to bottommost layer. I'm going to pick my flesh color and I'm going to start mapping out the face. Very loosely, very sketchy, because eventually this layer is going away. This is mainly just a way for me to map out the face so I know where to put everything. Then I'm going to kick down the opacity so it's not nearly as dark when I'm putting my next layer on top of it, which is still going to be the flesh colored. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to block in the face shape. Just like that. You can keep it loose, just like that, but you do want to enclose the entire image because I just use my paint bucket to fill it. Makes it a little easier and saves you time. Now I'm going into my gradient, but first, in order to use my gradient, I have to go to my magic wand tool. I select the area of the flesh blocking, I go to my gradient, and then what I do is I find a slightly lighter color than the flesh tone that I use to map out the shape of the head. Makes it look a little more dynamic, makes it a little more well-rounded to have a nice little gradient on there. And now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to find a great way to make that light source hit the face without being too overbearing or overwhelming. I like that, so now I'm going to deselect my lasso here, and we're going to get into some more fun stuff. I'm going to delete my sketch layer, so all I have left is my blocked in head shape. Now I'm going into a darker color, just slightly darker than flesh in my swatch panel, and this is actually on the layer above where I just blocked in the head shape. And what I'm doing is I'm using what I've already pre-established to add in all of my shading, and I always try to keep it simple. That's one thing about caricatures that you have to understand. In order to be really successful doing these in a live environment, you have to keep it quick and simple. So I'm not getting too crazy with my shading. As you can see, I am adding line work. This line work is a nice little cheat to let me know where to put my finalized lines later. And now I just went one more layer above that, and I'm blocking in the hair with the black. As you can see, the strokes in ArtStudio are very sharp and very dynamic, almost like a vector drawing. And what I'm doing is I'm blocking it in, use the paint bucket to fill it, and I'm filling in any spots the paint bucket missed. And now we're going to add in some white highlights here, just to kind of make the hair pop a little bit more, to give it a little bit more texture. I try not to go too crazy with it because you don't want to make them look older. You're merely just trying to add some texture. So now I'm one more layer above, and I'm going to start adding line work to her face. Now these pre-established lines that I already have are an amazing cheat. I basically use them and trace over them and add in more and more detail than I had previously established. So as you can see, I'm getting a little more detailed with the nose. I'm adding in more of the curvature and the shape. We're going down to the lips, and we're going to eventually be adding some color below this layer just to make it pop a little bit more. As you can see, I am modulating my lines, and occasionally, even guys like me, we mess up and we just erase it and start from scratch. It's really important to have light line work and thick line work in a drawing like this. It just makes it stand out way more. It gives it more of a three-dimensional quality and really makes it pop. Right now I'm just adding in the icing on the cake, a lot of the details. Women love having beautiful big lashes. Always remember that. It'll save you from getting slapped if they're offended with their drawing. And now I'm adding in some black line work for her blouse, which is still on the same layer as the dark red line work that I've drawn in. And now we're getting into some simple highlights here. I just use a simple white. I still try to keep it underneath my primary line work. That way I'm not interfering with all those crisp lines I created. It's really important not to get too crazy with your highlights. You just want things to look nice and soft to accentuate the image. And now we're going with some ruby red, which is in my palette window, just coloring in the lips. That's a feature that really stands out of Megan's. And then we're going to add a few more highlights to the lip just to accentuate it a little bit more and to flesh it out. Now she's got really rosy cheeks, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my airbrush tool. Well, actually I'm going to go into the irises first. Let me get those all colored in here. It's quite simple doing the eyes. You could also add a few more highlights there to really make them stand out even more. You can go with one white circle, you could go with two, but it's really important you get them in there to really highlight those eyes and to breathe a little bit of life into them. And now we're going to go into those rosy cheeks. I'm going to go to my airbrush tool, one more layer above. I'm going to use a really soft opacity. The airbrush tool is already really soft, but if you kick the opacity down even more, it just makes it really subtle. It's a very subtle difference that really makes it pop out. And then I'm using a speckle brush to create freckles. As you could see before, they were a little too sharp, so I just made them a little subtler by kicking down the opacity. And there we go. A little bit of freckles, a little bit of rosy cheeks makes a huge difference. Make sure you always sign your work, guys. Really important. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and export this image as a PNG into the photo roll on your iPad. You could also email it. You can also save it as a PSD, which will help it retain all of its layers. If you ever want to do some alterations later on in a different app, or if you want to use Photoshop. And then there you go. She's all done. Thumbs up, quick and easy. That's how we do caricatures, and that's how you can become successful doing them in a live environment.